Alright, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to the Black Box Podcast. BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. Well, there was something that we used to do on this channel, like it was called the weekly Q&A, where I would read off your questions and comments, and we would have a little bit of a discussion. Now, we haven't done one in a while, but I thought the Missy Bevers case would be a very good one to start that up again, so we can kind of look at some of the comments that you guys have been leaving on the previous Missy Bevers uploads. And we're going to do all of them, like this is going back to when we first started covering Missy Bevers in 2017. And once again, this is geared toward people who are mostly familiar with the case. And our first comment is coming to us from Jason G88. Jason says, the outfit that the perpetrator wore serves multiple purposes. Number one, it makes Missy believe that she is dealing with the police and can let her guard down, possibly even turn around and place hands behind her back. And number two is, even with a mask, you can tell a lot from a person's body shape. So the mass of clothing is to hide the body shape. And number three is, most of all, the killer needs the body and skin covered. If Missy were to scratch the finger, they could get DNA from Missy's fingernails. Yeah, okay, I mean, like, there is a lot of thought and preparation that went into this. What I would say is that all parties are in agreement with is that there was an enormous amount of preparation and thought and planning and foresight and anticipation that went in with the Missy Bevers murder. And it just, like the last time on the channel, we were talking about the Inside Edition theory, where they said that, was this possibly just like a random target? Like someone chose Missy Bevers who wasn't very familiar with her. They just chose her because of her appearance, or perhaps because of something to do with her name. I was just listening to a program about the alphabet murders, or also known as the ABC killer, who was targeting people that had double initials like CC and MM if their first and last name begin with the same initials. And we had another example of somebody targeting just people with the middle name Denise. It's like, people do things like that, I completely agree. But what I would say that is different with the Missy Bevers case than some of those cases we just mentioned is that there is an enormous amount of planning that went into that outfit. And it really is to hide DNA. One of the big things with O.J. Simpson is that during the scuffle, it's possible that he was cut during the scuffle with Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. His glove was pulled off, his hand was cut open, and blood evidence was left at the crime scene. This person who was planning the Missy Bevers murder was trying to avoid anything like that. So I think that's a very good comment from Jason G. And it pushes back to that theory that Inside Edition mentioned. But they just mentioned it. I really have to be precise. They're not saying that that's what anyone to do with the show believes happened. They got that from somewhere else. It had just been something that somebody was discussing, that she could have been targeted at random. Our next one comes to us from Joy Bradford, who left one on our recent upload, saying that she doesn't, first of all, Joy does not believe the Inside Edition theory, although they say her father-in-law was out of town. I think he did it. They have the exact same walking gait. My gut just tells me that. The father-in-law. What can we say about the Missy Bevers case? Well, overall, the majority of comments that I've had on my previous uploads about Missy Bevers really state that people are leaning toward the father-in-law, not the husband, not any other family member. They say that it was the father-in-law. I mean, I'm just reading off your comments, and every time you guys leave a comment, I do get the notification, and on the Missy Bevers uploads, overwhelmingly people point toward the father-in-law as being involved with this, and even being the person in the outfit. Our next one comes to us from Z Storage. Thank you for all your time and work. And one more thing, I have been following this case since day one, so I'm aware of many details discussed in the media. And the following are my impressions. Number one, the perpetrator was definitively a man. Number two, the perpetrator is Caucasian. Number three, the perpetrator worked in conjunction with somebody else. And number four, the husband and the father-in-law are definitively involved. I don't think I have seen it in even one article, podcast, or social media that in any other way points toward something else. Okay, so, Yes, I mean, as you see it right there, someone else is also implicating the father-in-law. Now, I'm aware that when I did the Missy Bevers Hitman Theory uploads, I might have had a few things wrong. I might have made some claims that were a little bit too outrageous. I might have said some things that were kind of too far out about Missy Bevers in the past. But when you listen to something like this, that Z Storage was just saying, it seems as if though people are also in a lot of agreement that we're dealing with multiple people. Like there's like the plotting and planning and scheming of multiple people involved with this. Of course, we just see one person in the police outfit, but multiple people were involved with the planning of this. Very thoughtful and methodical planning. I mean, on average, that would be the first challenge question that I would ask you guys right now. Do you believe that the Missy Bevers case has more thoughtful and methodical planning than a lot of the other true crime murders that we deal with? I'd say so. Most of the times we're dealing with people who are kind of luring a victim to a secluded area, and then they commit the murder and they get away and people aren't able to find out who it was. But this is someone who was kind of waiting for Missy Bevers. All this is all alleged, and they just had, once again, no chances of leaving DNA left behind, and of course their identity was concealed. But if we're going to talk about the possibility of a hitman or something like that, Shane Alexander gives us our next comment, and Shane writes, the TV show 2020 did a segment a while back on the dark web and hired hitman. It was profound and disturbing to watch. Thousands of people throughout the world apparently go on these undetectable websites and hire professionals to kill someone for them. In fact, contracted killers are occupationalists and just are paid like party planners, catering services, and maid services. Only these criminals excel at not getting caught and would never snitch. Okay, so, I mean, if anything, kind of the stuff we've been talking about the hitman theory, meaning somebody gave money to a person to arrange the death of Missy Bevers. According to what Shane's saying, it's actually very easy to do. And, I think that would be the heart and soul of the hitman theory uploads that I put out in the past, that somebody arranged for Missy Bevers to be murdered and they were given money. I mean, I might have used words like trained professional, but we're actually going to be discussing that in our next upload, our next comment rather, that is going to be coming to us. Just one second, going to pull the next one up here. But we have it from Duplin Muir, that's Dupplin. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And the first thing that Duplin is going to say is that we're going to be talking about whether or not that this is a man or a woman. And I said very clearly, my absolute first instinct when I saw the video the first time of the person in the police outfit, that this was a man. And Duplin says, that's odd, because I immediately thought it was a woman. The way the arm swing is typical of a female. I also disagree that it was a hired killer. Everything the culprit did was in keeping with what an intelligent person could pick up by studying true crimes. I have little doubt that both the Nissan and, referring to the car in the sporting goods store parking lot, and the uniform were procured out of state and were paid for in cash, so there will be no paper trail. I mean, that's a very intelligent comment coming from Duplin, and, it's entirely possible. When I put out theories, I mean, it's theoretical for a reason. I don't know everything. I'm willing to entertain that possibility. I would say, though, and this isn't so much a response to the comment, is that when I was listening to True Crime Garage, that was the first time I ever heard True Crime Garage, actually. Their podcast about Missy Bevers was the first thing I heard from them. They were saying that they believe that a lot of people are thinking that there's a woman in the costume because of the tactical belt that the alleged perpetrator is wearing. Like on that police costume, there's that very large belt, and they believe that that's kind of creating the optical illusion that it's kind of making the person's body appear more curvaceous than it actually is. But that's not really what Duplin was saying here. That comment was more about the swing of the arms seems very feminine. I mean, you just got to see different first impressions there. It appears to be a little bit confusing. I mean, I saw a man, this person saw a woman, but I just thought it was an interesting comment that they made that on True Crime Garage about the belt, like, because one of the biggest reasons why people think it is a woman is not so much the swing of the arms. That's why I think that that's a good comment that just came in. I think it's more like they say that they think that they can see the curvaceous figure of a woman, and those guys were saying that the kind of belt that the person is wearing is just kind of creating sort of like an illusion. It's making the person look like they got like really kind of almost that hourglass like figure, but it's an optical illusion. But that wouldn't really affect the swing of the arms, I don't think. What like I mean that's kind of just something that's going to be sort of open to discussion. I mean it's 2019. I'm really surprised that we're still going to be discussing this. Now we have one coming to us from Shay M, or maybe it's CM, SEAEM. I'm tempted to pronounce it like Seamus, but it might just be CM. And I was talking about in one of the previous uploads that I mentioned that Missy Bevers was an attractive woman in her 40s, and Shay M says, sorry, she was not attractive. Far from it. Not is in all caps, N-O-T all caps. She was not attractive. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this one was, first and foremost, you might not think that she was attractive, but I don't know, some guy in his late 50s or something, he might be really into a woman like Missy Bevers. He might think she was a knockout. I mean, I'm not sure how old this person is here, Shay M, but like, once again, I mean, some guys would probably find Missy Bevers very attractive. I would disagree with Nancy Grace saying that she was a young woman. I mean, she was like 45, I believe, at the time of her murder, definitely mid-40s. But we have people like Senator Kirsten Gillibrand saying that she's a young mom, referring to herself. And I was like, well, sorry, Senator Gillibrand, you're 52 years old. Maybe you shouldn't really be calling yourself a young mom. But I wouldn't really accept that Missy Bevers was a young woman. But like, what about Eye of the Beholder and stuff like that? I mean, once again, though, I mean, this is how we're getting into this, because one of the big issues with the Missy Bevers case is jealousy. Like, some people believe, that she was targeted for a specific reason, that she was, with that potential affair that we've mentioned in the past. I mean, you might not think she's attractive, but, like, there are probably a lot of guys that are older than you that would be really into a woman like Missy Bevers. And we're going to go on to our next comment here, and that's going to be coming to us from... Where did that one go real fast? Actually, I don't have the name of this one here, but this is just kind of like some text that I had written down. The person in the Missy Bevers case may have hired a hit on her, but they knew everything about Missy's final hours ahead of time, enough to convey this to a hired hitman at the last minute, including the fact that the rain had canceled the outdoor class she normally taught that day. Therefore, this quote-unquote hit was perfectly planned for the one day she would be inside preparing to teach her class, behind closed doors. Whom would have been the rare one in Missy's with such knowledge? And I believe they mean in Missy's inner circle with such knowledge. I wonder. And once again, sorry, I don't have the name of that one. That's just some copied text. Okay, the thing we got to say about that is, I believe that Missy Bevers wrote on Facebook that the class was canceled. I'm totally going off memory on that. So I believe she wrote on Facebook that the class was canceled, and if somebody's stalking out this very heavily premeditated murder, yeah, I believe they would have had access to that. And even if there are multiple people involved, how hard would it be to make a phone call and be like, hey, by the way, she's moving the class indoors. And I'm also recalling something, and I'm a little hazy on this detail, but yeah, I believe it was normal for Missy Bevers to go into the church very early just to kind of do the setup and get materials. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I think that it's very normal that she would arrive early and be in the church. So I think there's something to say about that. But once again, don't quote me on that one. But I'm almost 100% sure she did post on Facebook that the class was going to be indoors. Oh, if somebody's trying to have her murdered at the church, yeah, they're going to be watching stuff like that. What would happen if the person in the police outfit's just walking around in circles for nothing? I mean, they're going to be paying attention to that stuff. Okay, so just to recap before we sign off today. Number one, it seems like that there's an enormous amount of plotting and preparation that went into this. Multiple people are most likely involved with the preparation of the Missy Bevers murder. And the third thing is, I fully accept that maybe this wasn't, like any sort of professional hitman. All right, I concede that it's possible. I mean, we just dealt with the case of Daniel Marshall on this channel about he was completely kind of decked out in a bunch of ways to avoid leaving DNA at the site of a murder that he committed, even covering up the soles of his shoes so he wouldn't leave exact footprints. Maybe I agree with Duplin Muir, who's saying that someone could have just read up on criminal cases and how to get away with this stuff. I completely accept that, but it's like, and what one person is kind of thinking, hey, Missy Bevers is not such an attractive woman. Well, some guy probably really had it for her. Some guy probably really had a lot the hots for her. Someone who has a different mindset than you. And I know that person's just kind of writing like a provocative comment, but I just thought it was something interesting we could contribute to the discussion. Okay, so I think we're going to leave it at there for now. And if you have anything else to say about the case of Missy Bevers, I would love to hear from you. And once again, you can always drop some more comments. Maybe we can do another Q&A over the next couple of months. I'm sure the next Q&A will be on a different case though, so we can kind of just keep the cycles going. And until next time.